Joshua Magnus Nicole served as administrator for the District Assembly's Common Fund in the Kufuor era. He's joined us on the line. Sir, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you.
I'm made to believe you served both under Kufuor and Mills, correct?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Great. Now, this appears to be a usurpation of powers, according to what the minister is saying. You have an understanding of the District Assembly's Common Fund. Where do the lines meet, and where does the supervision and direction from the ministry come? Is there even a ministry that has direct supervision over the District Assembly's Common Fund, considering that it's a creation of the Constitution and not necessarily an act of Parliament?
Well, it depends on which way you look at it, but certainly it is the Act 936 which governs both the ministry and then the administrator who performs in dispersing funds to the assembly. So I would like us to look at the Act itself, Act 936, the Local Governance Act 936. And
Go ahead.
Yeah?
Go ahead.
And let's look at section 129 of that act. It tells you the functions of the administrator. And there are 4 functions that are listed under that section, 129. 1, the administrator is to propose a formula annually for the distribution of the common fund for approval by Parliament. And when that formula is approved, he is to administer and distribute monies paid into the common fund among the district assemblies in accordance with the formula approved by Parliament. And 3, report in writing to Parliament on how allocations made from the common fund to the district assemblies have been utilized by the district assemblies. And the last one, perform any other functions that may be directed by the president. These are the functions of the administrator.
This makes the administrator very, very independent of the ministry, doesn't it?
Certainly. There's no mention of any ministry here. And this is his function as set out by the Act. And also, the Common Fund is set up by the Constitution itself. And so I am looking at it from this angle, that this is what is for the administrator to do. Anything else that he does would then not be at the right position. But I don't know exactly what is the problem between the minister and the administrator. But if the administrator is going by his functions or her functions, then I don't really understand the problem between the two, honestly speaking. But then maybe you might also look at the section, the same act, which brings in some setting about the minister. If you look at that section 126, Parliament to make allocations to these assemblies for development. The Common Fund is for development. And as I mentioned from the 129, every year annually, the administrator presents a formula to Parliament. And once that formula is approved, then she has to disburse the funds according to that formula. I'm not sure of the 2023 formula, but in the formula, if you go back there and take a copy or any other formula from previous years, we always give out how the allocation or the money should be shared to the assemblies. And it is in those sessions or the formula that you really look at the nitty-gritty of how the fund is going to be disbursed for that particular year. Normally, they don't vary, but once in a while, maybe the percentage terms and what comes into the formula can be varied. So if you take the 2023 formula, it will tell you exactly what is the formula is saying. The only portion that the minister is mentioned is, as I said, under the 126. And there it says, if you look at 1263, the minister, which is the local government minister, shall, in consultation with the minister responsible for finance, determine the category of expenditures of the approved development budget of these assemblies that must in each year be met out of amounts received by these assemblies common fund. So that is the only aspect where the minister and the two ministers will give instructions to the assemblies as to the areas that they can use their funds for the development fund. So all what we are saying is that the direct amount that goes to the district, that is for the development, and that is actually stated as to which areas that can be used for.
So it appears that administrative-wise, the minister thinks there are some steps that ought to be taken. That's what he believes. But legally, the District Assembly's Common Fund has no obligation whatsoever to the minister. But looking at the minister's letter to the president through his secretary, paragraph 10, and I'm going to read that for you, maybe because the minister has come under the law to make his point. Maybe if you, I would want you to look at that. He says that as a supervisory ministry of the Local Government Act 2016, Act 936, and the ministry responsible for coordinating the MMDAs, we are of the view that the mandate to determine which districts receive such support and special attention lies with the ministry. We are of the firm belief that the trigger for distribution should be initiated by the ministry on behalf of government to ensure it sits within the broad government strategy. Does the minister, this is governance more than legal? It sounds to me.
Even with the governance, if I want to go back, let's go back then to the same act, the 126. This particular letter, I don't know what the minister wrote, but from what you are reading, the minister annually directs the districts in collaboration with the Minister of Finance as to where they have to spend their money in the development projects. That is the only area the minister, and when that is done, letters are reaching to the district that for this year, the broad areas that we want to consider maybe is education, this and that and that. And it's sent to the district. In fact, the minister is not even to tell them that what exactly they should use the money for, but it gives them a broad area.
So it's sounding to me as if there's what's the word? Independence of activities. The ministry decides what projects should be done. The District Assembly's Common Fund decides how much should be voted for that. So
no. The formula, okay, maybe he decides through the formula. The formula is sent to Parliament for approval. Mm-hmm. And in the formula, the percentages will be determined by, in collaboration with the guidelines. If the minister says that for this year, we want these projects to be undertaken in the district. So the administrator would then look at what is the broad terms and present a formula to Parliament. And in the formula, as I said, we have other areas that we have to consider. We have national youth programs, national employment support, national disaster, so many of them. The disabled people with disabilities, national sanitation support, all this will go to Parliament. And a reserve, as soon as the formula is approved, that is, and you know, when you are drawing a budget, this is the kind of budget. When you are drawing a budget, it's natural that you leave a kind of something for liability, for emergencies. And those monies, we term them reserve, which is in the formula.
Okay. I am looking at the general letter, and there are paragraphs in there that suggest that there is the relationship between the ministry and the District Assembly's Common Fund, at least the two heads, there's no collaboration whatsoever. I'll read for you two paragraphs for emphasis of the minister's letter to the president. Paragraph 11 says, even more worrying is the fact that as a ministry responsible for the MMDAs, we are not involved, engaged, or consulted in any form by the administrator of District Assembly's Common Fund in the development of the formula proposed to Parliament. We are of the view that government would be more efficient in the utilization of such resources if we align the decision-making process with all relevant stakeholders. Paragraph 12 says, it is instructive for His Excellency to note that this ministry has not had the expected level of cooperation from the Office of the Administrator of District Assemblies Common Fund. In the past 2 years and 3 months since I have been in the ministry, efforts to get the Office of the Administrator of District Assemblies Common Fund to align with the ministry in the strategic determination of the beneficiary districts of such allocations has not been successful. Now, this is very worrying, sir. And does it sound as if it's a personal score between the two that ought to be settled, or this can be elevated to be institutional? Is it an institutional disagreement you get? Or
I don't think it's institutional.
It's between the two individuals?
Yes, I think so. And so maybe what they can do is to bring in the select minister of in Parliament, the Select Committee on Local Governance, to come in and maybe resolve this issue. This shouldn't be a big issue, honestly speaking. It could be resolved.
But a complaint has been sent to the president. What can the president, or what should the president do about this?
My suggestion is maybe he should refer it to the, as I said, Select Committee of Parliament to look at it, or to a higher body, Council of State, or some committee to look at it critically. But honestly speaking, the law sets every past minister or administrator's lines straight. And if you perform within your lines, there shouldn't be any problem. The cooperation should be there. Once you are all working with the assembly, the minister is responsible for the assembly. Administrator is distributing funds to the assembly. So there should be collaboration between the two individuals.
Well, but until then, the frosty relationship continues. How does that harm the sector?
Where there's a problem, there's definitely a harm. Even if maybe the administrator wants to give instructions, or certainly once there's a discord, there will be some big problem hampering the development of this country. And I think they should refer this matter to the Select Committee for them to try and solve the two out.
Do you remember who your minister was when you were there, both under the Kufuor government and Mills?
I served under, I served under Kojo Ban, who is the first minister. I served under J. Dakon. I served under Asabi.
Stephen Asamoah Boateng.
Stephen Asamoah Boateng. I served under, this is the MPP time.
Yes.
So I served twice under J. Dakon. He was the last minister under the MPP. And when the NDC came in, I served under Opon Fosu. Then I served under...
Would it be the former chairman of the party?
That's right, that's right.
I'm just trying to get the name.
Begro, once at Begro MP.
Yes. So do you remember your relationship with them? Did it matter that you had a minister? Did you deal with the presidency or the ministries?
I dealt with right from the presidency, minister. It's purely collaboration. And as I said, there is some, you must collaborate, but there's no other word I can use. But as I said, the legal aspect is there, but you need to collaborate to develop the district.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
You are welcome.
That's Joshua Magnus Nico. He's a former administrator of the District Assembly's Common Fund. He served under two governments, the John Kufuor-led MPP government and the John Mills-led NDC government.